What you're about to watch is a jaw-dropping confrontation as Eric Swalwell calls out Brandon Gill to his face, labeling him an Ivy League investment banker, nepo congressman. This isn't just a clash over words, it's a direct challenge to power, privilege, and the people making decisions that affect everyday Americans.
The chair will take the time, but I will yield to the gentleman from Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wish Democrats had been as worried about gangs over the last administration as they are about a gang definition in this bill. Because of Democrat policies, Tren de Aragua has an established presence from coast to coast in our country. Nearly every single day, we hear stories about the terror wrought by these heinous criminals. In August, ICE arrested a Tren de Aragua member with an active warrant in Bogota, where he was sentenced to 7 years for trafficking and possessing illegal firearms. He had been caught and released at the border during the Biden-Harris administration. In May, ICE arrested multiple Tren de Aragua members who were involved in a mass shooting at a Chicago house party last December. And these arrests are not limited to Tren de Aragua members. Earlier this year, ICE arrested a gang member from El Salvador with U.S. convictions for sexual indecency with a child, failure to register as a sex offender, illegal reentry, and illegal entry. ICE also arrested an MS-13 gang member with a homicide conviction and a Sureños 13 gang member with 6 convictions for drug possession, 3 convictions for resisting arrest, 2 convictions for domestic violence, and 2 convictions for assault. These are the crimes that are the obvious result of Democrats' open border policies, so today it's no surprise that they'd rather attempt to poke holes in a clear definition rather than own up to their past mistake. The definition of criminal gang here is straightforward. It clearly delineates the requirements to be considered a gang, and it closely tracks another gang definition already in statute, the definition of a criminal street gang in 18 U.S. Code 521. Federal immigration officials shouldn't have to wait for an illegal alien gang member to harm, kill, rape, or terrorize an American citizen before expediting the removal of that dangerous foreign national. This is a common sense provision that creates safer streets for every American and closes a gaping loophole in current law. But if we want to talk about how these determinations are often being made, we hear rhetoric about gang tattoos. Let's look at this gang tattoo here. 666 on the forehead of an illegal alien, Antonio Israel Lazo Quintanilla. I simply do not want an illegal alien with 666 tattooed on his forehead in my country, and I don't think that most Americans would disagree with me there. As we've talked about earlier, this law does comport with due process. There are opportunities for illegal aliens to appeal decisions, deportation decisions, but if Democrats would like to explain why this illegal alien with 666 tattooed on his forehead should be given free rein in the interior of our country, they are welcome to. And with that, Mr. Chair, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from California is recognized. I yield back on my time. The gentleman from California is recognized.
One day we'll reconcile, Mr. Chairman, the richness of an Ivy League investment banker, nepo congressman telling us that we need to get rid of the people who pick our food, wash our cars, build our homes, enrich our communities. We'll get to that. But today, this legislation is about making it easier for ICE to remove more of our friends and neighbors. And I guess the question I have is it really that hard for you right now? Is there anything that's getting in your way from just lawlessly going into our communities and detaining American citizens, terrorizing women as masked bandits who are not identified, run through the streets, chase people through fields, go into car washes, go to Home Depot parking lots? Are you having a difficult time just ripping people away from their families, and you think you need more abilities to do it? Also, quite interesting that you're asking for more legal authorities because you don't even follow the laws that are on the books right now. So what are we doing here, I guess, is my first question. But the American people are telling you, get the hell out of our homes, our streets, and our lives. And I want to play a video, Mr. Chairman, that illustrates that.
I was going to school.
When the spray hit Veraza on the side of his head.
Mama, you okay, Mama? You okay? Are you okay?
He's a citizen! He's a citizen!
They do not have a warrant. They forcefully open the door.
No resistance. What am I doing? Kevin! Hey, get on the ground!
I block you, let me go!
Get back, I'm gonna shoot you. You're gonna what? You're gonna shoot me?
Not touching the car, leave me alone! Look what they're doing, he's sneezing!
The American people were promised that the most violent individuals would be removed. And instead, we've been given this. You even deported a child, U.S. citizen, fighting cancer. You deported Miguel Lopez, my constituent, who's been in the country for almost 30 years, worked at a local winery, sent his kids to the high school in my hometown, and he showed up to his immigration proceeding following the law, and he was picked up by ICE and sent to Mexico. And every Sunday night, his wife Rosa and their family look at an empty chair where Miguel used to sit for 30 years with his family. What did we get out of that? Who's better off because Miguel, who was following the law, is not in our community? But earlier this month, the American people from Virginia to New Jersey to Pennsylvania, all the way out to California, sent a message that a reckoning is on its way, that accountability is coming, and this lawlessness that's gone unchecked, a lot's going to change. The masks are going to come off. Officers will identify themselves. And Kristi Noem and Tom Homan, you should familiarize yourself with the four corners of this room. Kristi Noem and Tom Homan, get to know that witness chair. You're going to be parked in it for a long time. You're going to have a lot of questions under oath with the subpoena power. And I hope what you're doing is clean and can withstand the scrutiny that everyone on this side of the aisle is going to bring. You think we won't do it. You think you're invincible. You're wrong. Accountability is coming. You've got about a year, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The committee will stand. We'll come to you when we come back. We're going to have to stand in recess because we have a bill on the floor that Mr. Raskin and I have to manage, and so we will be recessed.
What you just watched is more than a heated exchange in Congress. It's Eric Swalwell holding power and privilege accountable in a way most politicians rarely do. He doesn't just criticize, he paints a vivid picture of the human consequences of policies that often hide behind legal jargon and political talking points. From the outset, Swalwell grounds his argument in reality. He points to communities terrorized by criminal activity that could have been mitigated, and highlights the human cost of enforcement policies that fail to distinguish between actual threats and law-abiding residents. This is the heart of effective oversight, connecting legislation to lived experience. Swalwell's confrontation with Brandon Gill, calling him an Ivy League investment banker nepo congressman, is not just a pointed remark. It's a critique of a system where privilege often insulates lawmakers from accountability, while ordinary Americans bear the consequences of decisions made in distant offices. He highlights how policies intended to protect the public sometimes end up harming the very people they're meant to serve. The story of Miguel Lopez, a U.S. citizen fighting cancer who was deported despite following the law for decades, is a stark example of this. His family now lives with the absence of someone who contributed to his community for nearly 30 years. By connecting individual stories to policy, Swalwell ensures viewers understand that legislation isn't abstract. It has very real human stakes. Throughout the hearing, Swalwell also educates viewers on the mechanics of law enforcement and immigration policy. He explains the difference between dangerous criminals and law-abiding individuals caught in a flawed system. He critiques the gap between rhetoric and reality, showing that while officials claim to focus on public safety, their actions sometimes empower harmful actors while punishing innocent people. The examples he cites, gang arrests, violent crimes, and deportations, illustrate a broader lesson. Laws and enforcement policies must be applied consistently to be effective and just. Swalwell's approach also demonstrates the importance of transparency and civic engagement. He asks pointed questions, refuses to let vague answers slide, and calls for accountability under the law. For viewers, this is a key teaching moment. Understanding government decisions requires curiosity, critical thinking, and attention to how policy affects real lives. Civic engagement is not just voting, it's holding representatives accountable for how their policies impact communities. What makes this commentary especially powerful is the human element. Swalwell frames his critique around people, the families, the neighborhoods, and the individuals who experience the direct consequences of policy. He reminds us that politics is not a game for the privileged, it is about real lives. By showing both the systemic issues and the personal stories, he helps viewers understand the intersection of power, law, and justice in a concrete and human way. If you want more analysis like this, to understand the real stories behind policy decisions and the accountability that power often avoids, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to Left Lens. Share it so more people can see how these decisions affect communities, families, and ordinary Americans. This is what it looks like when oversight meets courage, and it's a lesson in why paying attention to our government matters.